Welcome to the Holistic Success Show. I'm Elizabeth Lozano.
And I'm Dr. Robert Puff. Today our guest will be talking about how, as we grow older, we can stay young at heart.
We'll also be watching clips from Dr. Puff about how to live holistically in a world full of tragedies, as well as how everything happens for a reason.
And a question from you about how to keep this mind quiet when it's very busy.
And our second question is about how to keep your kids motivated in school. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show.
How do we live in a world holistically when we have a world in which there is so much tragedy? How do you find balance in that world? Let's start with saying, what do I mean by tragedy? What's happening in the world? You know, if you watch the news, whether today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, or 10 years ago, you're always going to find somewhere in the world there's going to be a drama of something horrible happening, something bad's happening around the world, somewhere, guaranteed. So what do you do with that? How do you live life caring for yourself, caring for those around you, and yet ignore or totally dive into or distract from all the concerns of the world? It's part of being whole. It's not just caring for yourself and caring for your loved ones. It's caring for everyone around you. You know, the whole planet matters. It all matters. You know, we've had guests on here talk about the clothing we wear, you know, our relationships we have, the friends we have, and you know, people at a far distance matter too. So how do we do that? First thing to do is, before you get overwhelmed, because you can get so overwhelmed by all the tragedy in the world, it's saying, I want to make a difference. I want to help people around the world. But you cannot help anyone, or everyone, everyone. You'd like to help anyone, but you can't help everyone. So what you do is you say, I'm going to choose two things that I'm going to really care about. Perhaps you're going to care about hunger in Afghanistan, or perhaps you're going to care about homeless in your local city that you live nearby. But choose a couple things that you are passionate about, and then proactively get involved. And there's really two ways you can get involved. One is to work for the organization, go out in the field and help the people around the world, or wherever your mission is. The other thing you can do is give money. Give your money. So it's time or money. Those are the two main ways that we can proactively be involved in making the world a better place, which I encourage everyone to do. I learned that years ago when I was in graduate school. A professor of mine, he said, you will get overwhelmed if you take on all the challenges of the world. So pick two, and then do something. Make a difference. And your money makes a difference, and your time makes a difference. If you have more money and less time, give more of your money. If you have more time and don't have much money, give a lot of your time. My father, who's still alive as I'm filming this, he has been involved, he was with my mother before she passed, with helping the homeless he's been doing it for years. I think over a decade. He lives in Arizona. He just reaches out on a very regular basis, goes out and gives food and clothing and sleeping bags to people in Arizona that are homeless. And he does that on a very regular basis, and he really makes a difference in people's lives. He's seen people living on the street get back into the workplace and caring for people that would be starving if he didn't do what he did. So you really can make a difference, whatever you choose. It can be something environmentally. It doesn't matter so much what it is, but limit yourself to a couple causes. I suggest you can do more, but I suggest two. Do them well, but then the key is to be holistic after you've done your cause. After you've reached out and done what you need to do, written that check or given your time, don't let it keep pestering you in your brain, saying, that poor person that's living on the street, or those poor people that are dying in Afghanistan. Wherever it is, whatever your cause is, if you think about it over and over and over again, when you can't do anything about it, that will cause you suffering. So the key there is, do something, be proactive. But then when you can't do anything, if right now you can't reach out and help, if right now you can't write a check, then your mind is not to be engaged with it. You be present with whatever is happening now, and don't be engaged with the suffering of the world. So what happens there is you create really proactively doing something because you don't feel paralyzed, because you really can make a difference. But you're not overwhelming yourself, because people that get involved with helping people, sometimes they get so overwhelmed, they get burnt out, they get exhausted, or it's just very, very hard on their spirit and their soul. So the key that I recommend is give to 2. And then when you're not able to give right here, right now, don't be giving of your mental energy. Be present with what is. Don't worry about the people that are starving. Don't be actively thinking about it, because if you do, again, you'll lead to burnout. And people that really effectively help and keep helping day after day, year after year, decade after decade, are ones that take care of themselves and love others. Again, take care of yourself and love others. So when you can give. But when you don't have the time right now because you're doing something else to give to yourself, and ultimately just be. Peace.
Our first question this week comes to us from Richard P. in Atlanta, Georgia. And he writes in, I've been working hard to quiet my mind, but have been getting more stressed because I can't seem to do it. Any suggestions?
Richard, a lot of people struggle with quieting their minds. And I think it's very common for people to say, I don't know what to do. My mind just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And what I have found over the years, that probably the most effective way of quieting your mind, and there are many, but one that I really like, is what I call a guided meditation. And what you do is you have someone who's leading a meditation, and you listen to what they're saying. And as you listen to what they're saying, even though they're talking, they'll talk about relaxation and following your breath and just telling you how to quiet your mind. And even though it's not completely still, their guidance allows you to move into a very relaxed, tranquil place. The first time I ever discovered this, I had a man that I'd been working with for a while, and the longest he'd been able to meditate was for 5 minutes. I mean, he tried and tried and tried, but he just couldn't quiet his mind. So I ended up writing a book with Elizabeth called Meditation for Health and Happiness. And it's in it, the second half of it is a guided meditation, and it's audio recording. And so he listened to that, and he was able to, by listening to that, my guided meditation, was able to he listened to it 2 times in a row, it's about 30 minutes long, so he was able to, went from 5 minutes, never being able to meditate or quiet his mind, to going a whole hour straight. And my point there is, a lot of times if you can't do it on your own, it's like, let someone help you. Let the guided meditation help you. And then once you get used to it, like once you kind of get used to riding a bike with training wheels, you can finally take them off and ride it on your own. But just to jump on it without training wheels can be a little dangerous or scary when you're riding a bike. And though quieting your mind isn't as, of course, scary, it can be just as difficult. So what a guided meditation does, it helps you ride the quieting by someone helping you along the way. It's like training wheels helping you, and it can be a wonderful way of meditating. I don't want to diminish it at all in any regard. It's a great way to learn to quiet the mind. It's just helping you do that. And what do you think?
You know, I think what you're saying is very true and it's very important, but I think there's another piece to this, is that you need to be gentle with yourself. Don't expect yourself to be able to be like Dr. Puff and sit for an hour and do it just when you're starting out. Because that, you know, sometimes when we have that perfectionistic mentality, we want to do something and do it right the first time. And it's kind of like a marathon in some senses. You wouldn't expect yourself to go run a marathon or a triathlon when you haven't done any running whatsoever. And you can't expect yourself to do that. You need to be easy with yourself and be gentle with yourself, because that's, if you're getting stressed out about it, you're totally defeating the purpose. So little baby steps. If you can only do even a minute, okay, that's different than you did yesterday. You try little bits at a time and know that each time, yeah, okay, your mind will start to wander, but you just come back and you try it as much as you can. And what he was saying really, really helps, or adding music to you know, if you're just kind of relaxing, if you could just get to that relaxed state is really where you want to be, to quiet your mind. Guided meditation is huge. It really helps you to get there. But just remember, be easy and be gentle on yourself, and know that it's going to take some time, and that's okay.
And we also have a weekly now podcast called Meditation for Health, and you can listen to it at our website or at iTunes. And we would love to have you join us every week and learn about how meditation in a variety of ways can improve your life. It's free and it's available for you, and it has, every third week it has a guided meditation that we do for you. So good luck and peace.
I'd like to welcome Barbara Morris to the show. She's a pharmacist and the author of Put Old on Hold, and No More Little Old Ladies, and she's here to talk to us about how to do just that. So welcome. It's very
Thank you,
nice
Elizabeth.
to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about each of these books and how you came to write them?
Okay. Well, Put Old on Hold, I wrote when I got to my late 60s, and at that time I realized that what I had been doing for the past 30 years or so was really paying off in a phenomenal way. And I decided that I was going to share what I knew with other women so that they could achieve what I had achieved. And so that's when I put Old on Hold together. And as far as No More Little Old Ladies, I worked as a pharmacist until I was 76.
Wow.
And when I got to my early 70s, I realized that I probably wouldn't be working forever and that I would probably be living the retired senior lifestyle. So I started to pay particular attention to my senior customers and how they were living and what their attitudes and beliefs and behaviors were. And it was a real eye-opener for me. I realized very quickly that their lifestyle was not something that I wanted to become a part of. While it was clear that many of the seniors were happy in their retired lifestyle, there were many more who were very unhappy. I saw a lot of loneliness, a lot of boredom, a lot of depression, a lot of financial problems, and what really struck me was there was often a lot of yearning for the past, what had been. When they were younger, they looked better, they felt better, and they had a purpose in life. And I recall one woman in particular, she showed me a picture of herself playing tennis. And she said, "Oh, how I wish I could still play tennis." And I said, "Why did you stop?" And she said, "Well, you know, when you're young and you're full of energy, you can think you can do everything tomorrow, that you're always going to have this vitality. And unfortunately, it doesn't work out that way." And she said, "Now it's too late. I'm too out of shape. There's no way that I could possibly play tennis." So I saw a good bit of that, and it was, as I said, it was a real eye-opener.
And I'm sure, you know, in the work that we do so often, we see that the depression and the sadness and the loneliness so ties into illness too. When you're not feeling well about your life, that you're probably more prone to get sick, right?
And, you know, that brings to mind something that the seniors took a lot of medication, and sometimes they would be taking maybe a half a dozen different medications.
Oh my goodness.
And with their financial situation, very often they would scrimp on food, but they always had enough money to buy liquor. I worked in a supermarket pharmacy. And I recall one woman who told me she was in love with a guy named Jack Daniels.
Oh, gee.
She said, because he said, he's better than senior sex, and I never have to worry about getting a disease.
Oh my goodness.
So,
But so sad.
it is sad, and they understood that the alcohol and the medications was not a good mix.
Oh my goodness,
but
no.
they didn't care because it brought them a modicum of comfort.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, when you put everything together and you saw the lifestyle that many of these people, women in particular, that were living, I decided that I never wanted to become a part of that I wanted to stay in a state of ongoing growth. I wanted to live a lifestyle that was productive, that had value, not just for me, but for others, and that's what I'm trying to do now.
So can you share with us how you have managed to do that in your life? Like, what are some of the things that you've done to manage to maintain that?
Okay. Well, by age 10, I knew that I never wanted to be old, and that's a long story. But when I got to my 30s, I really, really started to pay attention to nutrition.
Okay.
And I was reading Prevention magazine when J.I. Rodale, the founder, was writing most of the articles. I was reading work by Adele Davis for her nutritional information. And Jack LaLanne had an exercise program on TV at the time, so I was exercising with Jack every day. And there was another man by the name of, I think it was Richard Hittleman, and he taught yoga, so I got into yoga. And this is something I have continued to do throughout my life. And I've learned about supplements. I've continued to educate myself. You know, what I learned in pharmacy school wasn't about supplements and natural living. So I've had to do a lot of educating myself. And it's paid off. It's been a phenomenal experience. And I just wish I could help other women see the value in taking charge of their life early on to do what they have to do to keep what they have. When you get to be 80 years old and you're
Which
healthy.
you already are there,
Oh,
right?
well, yeah, actually, I'm 81 this month.
Oh my goodness.
And you're independent and you can live the way you want to live. That's the ultimate brass ring. And it's possible. And of course, life does throw curveballs. But when life does throw a curveball at you, if you've taken care of yourself, it's so much easier to overcome adversity.
Barbara, you epitomize everything that we talk about on the show. We're trying to teach people about the health and, the exercise and our mental thinking and just everything that goes together. And sometimes I think there are people that struggle and think that, oh, that's not possible, or an ideal case or best case scenario that's going to happen, or that can't be me. And here you are sitting in front of us. You are 81 years old and you look phenomenal. I mean, you look like you're 60 years old.
Well, let me tell you this, that looking good is the easy part of the aging process. It really is. If you exercise regularly, you can keep your body in decent condition. If you eat right, your skin is going to be better. You're going to look better. And if you don't like the way your face looks, if you want to get a facelift or get your wrinkles removed, that's easy. You can do that.
Okay.
The difficult part of aging is managing what's going on in your head.
Yes.
And the lifestyle that you live.
So can you share with us, because I know in your books you talk about the mental thinking of old and how that's something that you kind of push aside. So talk to us about how that, if you think old, how that can affect you.
You are what you think you are. You are what you say you are. And if you keep telling yourself, I'm too old to do this or that, or I'm too old to learn this or that, you're leading yourself into decline. And one of the things that really bothers me is when I hear an older person say, I'm having a senior moment. This drives me crazy because I don't care how old you are. We all have memory lapses.
I have memory lapses.
I have never heard a teenager, an absent-minded teenager say, oops, I'm having a teen moment. Young people don't sweat memory lapses because they're normal, and we shouldn't do it either.
I like that. That's some really great advice.
Yeah.
Now, what do you advise in regards to, because there are some physical changes that happen and there are some mental changes that happen as well as we age. So what are some things that you suggest for that?
You have to plan.
Okay.
You have to plan. By the time you are 40, you need to have a plan in place for how you want to be when you are in your retirement years. You have to educate yourself about nutrition and supplements. And above all, you have got to be in an exercise regimen, something you do every day without fail. And this is difficult for most people, it really is, but let me tell you how I do it. I think that I have two entities living within me. My resident pit bull, and this is your survival instinct. This is the guy, for me, his name is Rocky, that tells me to do what I should do to keep on, to keep what I have. Then we also have another entity that I call your existence manager, and this is Jezebel. And Jezebel, it's her job to get us to the end of our life on her schedule, not ours. And I know that if I listen to my pit bull Rocky, who encourages me to do what I have to do, I can be where I want to be. Now, here's an example. I walk on my treadmill for 30 minutes every day, among other things, and there are lots of times when I would prefer to be sitting in the chair. And here's the conversation that goes on in my head. Barbara, you're tired. You've worked hard today. You really don't need to exercise. You can do it tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. You have got to do it today. And while Jezebel is talking in one ear, I hear Rocky in the other. Barbara, get off that chair and get on that treadmill, because if you don't, you're going to lose what you have in short order. And I've trained myself to where I listen to my survival instinct. I listen to Rocky. And you can train yourself to do that.
And to learn more about how to do just that, where can we visit you?
My website, I have several websites. You can go to nomorelittleoldladies.com. You can go to putoldonhold.com and you can sign up for my monthly newsletter.
You have a new book coming out as well?
And I have a new book coming out very soon. It's called Why Boomer Women Become Their Mothers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
I want to talk about this cup of mine that I use every day at work, and I use every day when I'm filming these episodes with you. I've had it for many years, and but it's a replacement cup. What I mean by that is I break it periodically, and so I keep a fresh supply of them at home. But they're all the exact same. They look the same. They say the same thing. And I make my juice in the morning. I carry this with me and drink it throughout the day. So why? You may wonder. That's an interesting thing to do. Well, let me share with you what it says. It says, everything happens for a reason. Just believe. Say that again. Everything happens for a reason. Just believe. Why do I have this cup? What does it mean? And this is perhaps one of my more controversial topics. So, at the end of this show, you'll be able to comment on the show. And I'd love to hear back from you after you hear what I say and see whether you agree with me or disagree with me. But what it means is, as we go through life, there really aren't any accidents. Everything happens for a reason, if you believe that. So when you are going through, or I, myself, because this is my cup, if I'm going through a time that I can't quite make sense of, I've learned that if I hang in there long enough, things tend to work out. And the universe, God, conspires to help me on my progress of making the world, as you know I'm about, a better place with Elizabeth, and improving my own life and the people I love, their lives. But at times when you're going through things, it doesn't seem that way. I'm sure it doesn't to you either. It doesn't seem that everything is happening for a reason. It seems like it's just random chaos, and it's terrible, and it's awful, and Dr. Puff, what you're talking about is ludicrous. And I have felt that way, so I can definitely relate to that. But what I've learned is, from my personal experience, if I hang in there long enough, I have found that things tend to really happen for a reason. And my belief system in that makes me calm down. So I believe that so intimately now, it's basically fried into my soul, that when there are glitches in my life, when things aren't going the way I like, I relax, because I believe, rightly or wrongly, I believe that there is a purpose for my life, for your life, for all our lives. And yes, I'm not in any way negating that there's tragedy. I've had much of it in my own life and seen it in many, many other people. But I think anything ultimately can turn out for the good. There's a term that I want to share with you. It's called agathism, or I'm an agathist. And what is it? What do I mean by that? Everyone knows what a pessimist is. A pessimist believes that everything is bad. Optimist believes that everything is good. Agathist actually believes that ultimately everything will turn out for the good. And I have found implementing and believing that in my heart makes my world go a lot better. Now perhaps, and I'd love to hear back from you, perhaps you think I am delusional and I'm just fooling myself. However, the great thing about this cup and implementing this belief into my belief system is, because I believe it, it becomes my reality. So even when the cup is half empty, I'm always seeing it half full. Even when there's tragedy, I always believe it will work out. And what I have found is, whenever there are glitches in my life, and there are some, they always work out. They have a purpose for them. I may, perhaps some of them, not get to know until I die and I get on the other side and my life gets more explained to me. But in this life, most of the things that I've had that have been tragedies have ended up working out for the better. So as we navigate this course called life, whether I'm right or wrong, whether this saying right here is correct or incorrect, if you believe it, if you implement it, if you hold it close to your heart, when there is things going not the way you want, what happens is you relax and you learn to flow with life instead of fighting life. And if you don't fight life, life really becomes better. If you embrace agathism, if you say, I'm going to become an agathist and believe that everything ultimately will work out for the good, if I just hang in there, then what you'll find is that with that belief system in place, things tend to do that. And it's not just my own experience. I've talked about this with many, many, many people, very prominent people, as you know. I know many people because of what I do. And the ones who embrace this, without a doubt, I've just found us all to say the same thing. This is true. I mean, I carry this cup with me everywhere I go, and the guests we have on here, you're seeing are very prominent guests, and I'll show them this cup, and they say, "Oh, I so much believe that. That's so true." So if so many people out there believe this, and we all find it to be true, and it's working in our lives, perhaps, whether you believe it or not, perhaps you could create a little card, or you can order this cup at Amazon. That's where I get it. So if you want to try, get it on Amazon. It's a purple. It has a dragonfly on it, and just type in this thing, and you'll be able to get it. And try that. Try to implement it into your life. And what you'll find is, perhaps, this is where I'm going to ask you to write back to me and Elizabeth. Perhaps you'll find that is true. That by holding the belief system that everything happens for a reason, just believe, makes life when it's tough to work out better. Peace.
Our second question this week comes to us from Kim P. in Anchorage, Alaska. How do I get my kids motivated to do well in school?
Well, Kim, a lot of parents have struggled with that because they want their kids to do well in school. So how do you help your children succeed in life? Because if they succeed in school, it really helps you to succeed in life. There is a pretty direct correlation there. And I really encourage parents to encourage their children to do well in school. It's great for their self-esteem. They feel good about themselves. If you perform poorly at school, it'd be like you going to work and someone saying you're doing a bad job, you're not doing good. I mean, it clearly affects your self-esteem. So being involved in helping them to do well is excellent for them and excellent for you, and just really excellent for our whole world, because if they do well, they're going to feel good about themselves and truly have a better life. It's one of the keys in life of doing well. Not that they have to be straight A, but feeling like they put forth effort and they did well. So, what Elizabeth and I like, and we've written a book on it, so we talk a lot about how to motivate children, is we really like positive. I mean, that's one aspect of it. Use positive motivation to get your child to do well in school. So often as parents, what we're doing is we're already giving them a plethora of free things that they don't have to do anything for. They can watch their video games, they can watch shows, they can play with their toys, and we just let them do this without any reward to it. So what happens is they think, I can just do this whether I do well at school or not. And in life, that really isn't realistic. In our lives, the better we perform, the more we often get paid for that. If you can see their world like our world, if they do well in school, reward them for that. So let's say, it can be a plethora of ways of doing that. You can reward them for grades. You can be actively involved in praising them when they come home for just some short-term goals, like having a good test score that day. And it can be related to, if you do well in school, if you get your homework done, you put forth the effort, then on the weekend, you can play your video games, or we'll go, if you do really exceptionally well, we'll go to Disneyland, and we'll go on a special trip, or you can have this special toy. I mean, you don't want to make it all about they can't have anything if they fail, but you want to say you can have extra, like icing on the cake, or you can have cake, dessert, if you do exceptionally well. So then they equate doing well with school and feeling good inside, because the two are kind of correlated, and with time that will get transposed into I need to do this because I'm working towards it, versus I just like the feeling of doing well in school. And once you kind of develop that rhythm, they will do well in school. And I know Elizabeth is going to have some things to share on this.
Yes, I most definitely do. So I think, it's really important to reinforce them, like he said. And there's so many ways to do that. But I also think it's important, be sure that you're not blasting them or criticizing them when they fail, because that definitely has an impact on their self-esteem. So you also, part of this in the rewarding, you're going to get to know them. It's important that you know the things that your children like. You'd be surprised how many parents out there, and there's no criticism in this, but many parents out there, they're so busy with their lives that they're not even really aware of all the things that their children love and they're passionate about and that they enjoy. Sometimes maybe your kid might even want to play a game with you. So you take that time to do that. But I think reinforcing them with positive things is a wonderful thing to do, because then they see that you're proud of them. Also, make sure that you're modeling good behavior for your kids too, and this goes into anything. I want to get my children motivated to help me out around the house. I want them to be respectful. All these things. What he was saying is that it's great to reward your children. Don't just give them these things for no reason at all. If your kids are misbehaving, they're not doing well in school, do they really need that cell phone? Do they really need those extra games? Do they really, should they be out playing with their friends if they didn't do well or didn't study. And perhaps, maybe your child has difficulties with studying. It's not just something that, oh, you know how to do. You need help with those things, and they don't always show those things in school. So if you spend time with your children and educating them and helping them, or perhaps giving them the help that they need. Because if a child is struggling in school, they're gonna feel embarrassed maybe. That's hard for them, and sometimes they can act up and create all kinds of problems with that. So if you find that your child is struggling, get him tested, see if he has a learning disability. And there's no shame to that whatsoever. The best thing that you can do is notice it and get help, and then he or she's gonna feel better about themselves.
And what I liked what Elizabeth said that I want to add to is just helping your child, because as they struggle, if you don't get involved with it, you're expecting them to solve something they don't have the ability to do. So kids that tend to do well in school have parents that are really helping them along the way. And if you help them, even with learning disabilities, they can do excellent. When I was at Princeton Graduate School, one of my best friends named Jamie Evans, if you're out there, Jamie, I'm going to comment about you. He had a significant learning disability, and his parents, they were very loving parents, and they got him very special care and help for his learning disability to send him to a special school for that. And he was able to get into Princeton Graduate School, which was a very challenging school to do, and he did well at it. So you can help your child, be involved, and help them.
Thank you. That was a wonderful question.
Thank you.
As always. This week's quote is by Mark Twain, and the quote is, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the things that you do. So throw off the bow lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Holistic Success Show. If you didn't know, you can catch us on iTunes as well.
And we also have at our bookstore a variety of books, CDs, and DVDs for you to continue your journey on growing and being healthy.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.